Good afternoon, everyone. We're back with another AMA session. Ask Me Anything on this wonderful Wednesday, March the 12th. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I'm sure people will be hopping on. We're actually coming to you live from Humber College today at the Lakeshore campus. There is actually a session we have going on, a job fair session. So if you're in the area or if you're attending Humber College today and you're there, please do come by and see us. We'll be there till this evening. But again, another session of AMA. Today we'll be focusing on a few things, areas of assessments, focusing specifically on the education side and the driving side. And then certainly, like always, we will answer all your questions. I will try to address every single one. And I'm hoping maybe today's the day that I answer all the questions and not leave anything behind. My name is Acting Sergeant Prash Maranjan with the Uniform Recruitment Unit for the OPP. And one more thing I want to actually address. Many of you have been asking us about fitness sessions, when our next fitness session will be. As you know, we hold hold the shuttle run sessions throughout the province. So the next one will be on March 19th in Aurelia. And you can sign up for it starting this afternoon. If you go on to our OPP careers page, opp.ca/careers, and you go down to the events section, you'll be able to see the link there for you to sign up. So hope to see many of you there. The fitness session will kind of give you an opportunity to kind of understand where you stand on the shuttle run side of it, whether you are working towards getting level 7 or you want to kind of gauge if you're ready. And then certainly it'll give you the opportunity to kind of meet other recruiters and talk to us about any questions you had in preparing for our process. So hope to see many of you there. I see many of you are logging in. If you have any questions as I'm going through some information, please do put them in the chat box. I will try to address them as I'm going through. If I don't get your question or if I missed it, please do put it back in there and I will certainly address it. Okay, so let's start with just a few things I want to talk about, which is our areas of assessment. As you know, there are 10 different areas of assessment that we assess you on as you're going through the hiring process, whether it's at the application stage, the interview stage, essentially looking to see how competitive you are in all of those areas. If you want to know what these areas are, please go on to our website, opp.ca/careers, and you'll see all of them listed there in a pie chart format. But today we're going to be looking at education and driving. Why are these two areas important? Because education, the minimum requirement is high school. You need to have a high school education. But if you have anything beyond that, college, university, technical school, or trade school, again, these are all different areas that will still benefit you as you're going through the process. But high school is the minimum. You have to submit your transcript as you're going through the process. For your application, you have to upload it as you're going through the process. And again, we assess you on your ability to, learn. So how have you performed during high school? What your grades were? Were you involved in extracurricular activities? Were you working part-time? Were you volunteering as you were going through high school? And the same applies for college and university. When you were attending college, how you did overall, your grades, university, the same thing. How your grades were impacted. Do you have the ability to learn? And the reason I say that is when you go to Ontario Police College, there is an education portion that you have to pass with 75%. When you're at the Ontario Police College, you will be doing exams, a midterm and a final, where you have to pass on all the things that are taught to you, all the different laws, different areas of assessments that they will have there for you that you have to be able to pass. So when we assess your education from high school, college, and university, it's a baseline for us to see how well you are or how ready you are to tackle what you will face at the Ontario Police College. And one of the other questions we get is, what if you were educated outside of the province or outside in another country? That's totally fine. We will accept that as long as you have it accredited for Ontario standards. So when you go on our website, you go to the frequently asked questions, there's actually a section where you can actually get your credentials if it's from another country to have it assessed for Ontario standards. And this third party company will be able to do that. And certainly there's a fee for you to do this, but you can apply to that company. They will assess all your credentials from another country and grade it for Ontario standards, which you can then submit as part of your application to get credit for your education standards. The next one is driving. Driving is important because, as police officers, that is our method of going from A to B and B to C. Whether we're going to a call for service, we're attending outreach events, or where any methods of doing our job involves a lot of driving. Minimum requirements, you have to have a G license. You have to have that as part of your minimum requirements to apply, and you can't have no more than 6 demerit points to apply. So certainly driving is something that we assess as you go through the hiring process. We look at your past driving record. We look at how many years you've been driving, what sort of specialized driving skills or licenses you have, and how comfortable are you driving, whether it's on a 400 series highway, whether it's on a rural road or city roads. And we want to make sure when you're given the responsibility to operate a police cruiser, you're going to do it in a safe manner. That's going to reflect the OPP in a positive manner, but at the same time, it's going to earn the trust of the public, the motoring public, as you're a trendsetter and a role model when you're behind the wheel. So those are two things that we will assess when you're going through the process. And I see the questions are coming in already. Question about when getting a job offer and going into the academy, do you go as part of a cohort, or is everyone getting there at different times? No, you go as part of a cohort. When you're at the academy and when you're at the police college, you go in as a cohort. This past class in March, the first week of March that we sent, there's about 120 OPP officers, OPP recruits that will be attending. So when you go there, you're doing everything as a group. You can imagine 120 people, it's a big group. We divide them into different smaller groups, but you will be going through the training process all at the same time. Okay. Question about what is the OPP schedule like compared to the typical 4 on 4 off? How does taking time off work for new recruits? Good question. So depending on which region, so as you know, we have various regions: East, West, Northeast, Northwest, Central, and HSD. Depending on which region you go to and specifically which detachment you go to, they might be working a different schedule. 4 on 4 off means, you work 4 days, 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, and you're off for 4 days. That's one type of schedule that you would work. There's also a 5-4 schedule, the 2-1 schedule. So depending on where you go and which detachment you work, they might work a different type of schedule. And that's something that you will get used to as you start working it. But I find most of the schedules that we work has a really good work-life balance, meaning you have a good amount of time where you get the time off to spend with your family and friends and to do the things that you need. So that way it works conducively for both of those areas. How does time off work? When you're a brand new recruit, you are allotted 2 weeks of vacation, and that increases with your tenure in the organization. As you pass certain milestones, you'll get to 3 weeks and 4 weeks, 5 weeks and 6 weeks, and so on and so forth. So again, that comes with time. Time off is based on essentially availability. So you can put your request in to have a day off. You'll also be eligible to pick vacation at the start of the year for the entire year, where you can block off certain weeks at a time. So that way, if you're planning to do some traveling or spend time with the family for whatever needs, that will be available to you. I found personally when I was a new recruit, time off wasn't a big issue. I felt I was able to get the time off that I needed based on my personal needs. And usually the supervisors, the sergeants are very understanding, and they know all the officers within their platoon, and they'll work amongst each other to make sure you accommodate somebody or to help somebody out if they need a day off here and there. So I find it is a good balance. Certainly it does work well. Question about timeline process and the submitting. So I guess, yeah, the question Rex is asking is about, when you put in your application, how long does the application process takes, and if you're hired, how does that look? As you know, we hire for 4 classes a year. Um, you know, January, March, June, and September. So those are the 4 intakes that you have at OPC, um, going spreading across about 23 weeks. And we're accepting applications 365 days a year. So one of the questions I always get asked is there a good time to submit the application? I think you should submit based on your competitive best. So if you think you're ready, and if you think you are a strong applicant, you fit all the areas of assessment, and you go online and you do your online portal application, and it's 100% ready to complete, please go ahead. If you think maybe you need some time to work on your fitness, I would say hold off on submitting your application. Make sure you can get level 7 on your fitness and then submit, because what happens is once you submit your application, the request for you to submit the fitness test would be right away. So it'd be a shame for you to submit the application, then we ask for a fitness video, and then you're not able to submit it because you're not meeting level 7. It just delays your application for no reason. So I would say wait to make sure that you can get level 7 on your fitness testing, and then you submit your application so you go through the process. We're hiring every 3 months, so we're sending a class every 3 months. So our goal is to try to get you into the next class possible. So if your file goes from application submission to job offer eligibility in 3 months, that's great. So we'll try to get you into the next class. If it takes 4 months, then obviously we'll try to get you into the class after that. So your file is always moving for articulation's sake, like a conveyor belt. It goes from one stage to the other, one after the other. So depending on how fast you get through the whole process, we will try to give you or put you into the next available spot for you to go to OPC. Okay. But yeah, that's a good question. So thank you for asking that. When does the training occur in Aurelia? Do training officers stay over there overnight, like the case of OPC? Yes, yeah. So when you are a recruit, you would be staying over at Ontario Police College Monday to Friday. Usually, how it works is all the recruits stay over Monday to Friday, and usually Friday night after classes, Friday evening when the classes end, people that are able to drive home will drive home, and then they would come back Sunday night because classes start early Monday morning. So you would have to stay over for you to get the full experience and do all the testing and the courses and the training that we do. And same thing happens at the academy. You would usually stay over Monday to Friday. Friday evening, you would wrap up. If you're able to drive home, you would drive home, spend some time, and then you would come back Sunday night because classes start Monday morning. And it's a good experience. Again, you're not by yourself. You are with your cohort of fellow OPP officers, and if you're at OPC, Ontario Police College, you're with the rest of the officers from all the services represented across the province. It's an environment that has good camaraderie. You're able to work with other services, other people, other officers from other services in your classroom and your pod. So I think it's a very positive and enriching experience. Certainly something that you would remember for the rest of your life. How long does it take to hear back from the OPP after we submit an application? We're pretty quick. I would say we're really quick. Within a couple of weeks, if not sooner, because we actually process much faster. So if you haven't heard anything back within a couple of weeks, one thing I find is please check your junk mail. Usually, when we respond back, if your email does not recognize the uh, email address, it will automatically change it into the junk mailbox. So please do check your junk mail. But if you find that you haven't heard anything back, please do contact us and just follow up with us just to make sure that we did receive your application and everything's okay. Can I still apply at 46? Absolutely. Absolutely. As you know, the minimum age to apply is 18, but there is no age cutoff. If you feel you have the motivation, you have the physical capability, you're able to meet all the requirements to be a police officer, I would highly encourage you to apply. Age is just a number. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's not going to stop you from having a successful career, no matter what the age is. As long as you're motivated, you want to do the career, and you can certainly do and meet all the requirements, I would really highly encourage you to apply. Um, will a boating license to apply will a boating license apply to the driving section of our application should records be under special skills? Yeah, that would be considered special skill. Yeah, absolutely. So if you have a license of any other kind, training of any other kind, maybe you speak a second language. So there's so many things that would fall under the special skills umbrella. So I would say you can certainly put it there. And that's one of the areas of assessments, also special skills. So anything in terms of any training or specialty experiences that you feel that you have is beneficial to the OPP and would enrich your opportunity with us, absolutely make sure you get recognition for it and make sure you list it in the application. Okay. How easy is it to get transferred once you're working in one place? So one of the best things about OPP, and I always love this because I've done it myself, I have transferred a few times. When you start off with us as a new recruit and when you report your detachment, um, oh, just making sure you can all still hear me. I'm getting an error message here. We're good. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sarah. Because I couldn't see the messages, they kind of popped away, so I couldn't see them. So when you start off with us as a new recruit, 3 years. Your first posting is for 3 years, and after that, you can certainly transfer. Some people end up staying more than the 3 years at the detachment they're initially posted at because they end up building relationships and they really enjoy the community they work in, and they kind of set their base there for themselves or even their family. But say after the 3 years that you don't see or you want some other opportunities to pursue, you can apply and transfer to any part of the province, any of the detachments, close to 200 detachments that we have, you can transfer to them. And subsequently, if you transfer to those detachments, it's every 2 years. You have to be there for 2 years, and then you're able to transfer to another location. Why is this beneficial? Because as in this day and age, one of the biggest things that we deal with is cost of living. The cost of living, especially in the GTA, is enormous, very, very high. But with the OPP, you can essentially work anywhere in the province, and your cost of living changes depending on where you're living. So I find that many people are looking, they want to set up a family, they want to own a house. So these are things that are available to you in many parts of the province. Maybe in the GTA it's out of reach, but that's not the case in other parts of the province. So many people take this opportunity to go try out different parts of the province, maybe where they want to settle down or establish some roots. And the affordability is a big thing. So you're able to afford a nice house with some good space of land, right? So these are things that does matter, and I think OPP, from OPP perspective, we're capable of offering you all that. So every 2 years you can transfer if that's what you want to do after your initial 3 year posting to your first detachment. Thank you, Sarah, for those questions. What are the chances of getting the detachments we select? Yeah, great question. So when you go through the process, you will pick 6 detachments of your choice. You can pick six from any region, and you will rate them. Number one being your top choice, number two, three, four, five, six, and then when you come to the spot of eligibility for a job offer, what our coordinator will do is they will go look at your posting choices and they will try to marry up what's available in the organization from the detachment that you're looking for to what your choices are. So if they see that, for example, if you want a Toronto detachment, that's your number one choice, they will look at if there's openings at the Toronto detachment. If there is, and you want Toronto detachment, perfect. That's a perfect match. They will be able to offer that. If Toronto is not available as your first choice, then they will look at your second choice. Maybe you ask for Mississauga, and if there's a spot open in Mississauga and now you want a Mississauga, we will be able to give you that one. So we do try and give you one of the 6 that you want, and majority of times, many of our recruits get all one of the 6. If there's a chance maybe we're not able to offer you one of the 6, we will come back and ask you to pick maybe three more to open up more chances for you to get the detachment you want. So we do try to work with you because we don't want to set you up for failure. We want to set you up for success, which means, it does matter that you have the right type of supports around you, the family around you, especially when you're making a career change of this magnitude. We want to make sure that we set you up for success, because a lot of things that you'll be learning as a police officer, especially as a brand new officer, will be sometimes overwhelming. And sometimes you need that support at home. You need those people that you lean on to get through this initial period, right? So certainly that is something we will work with. Um, do Canadian Armed Forces members looking to retire have a leg up if they wish to join OPP? I wouldn't say a leg up, but I would say certainly your experience by working in the Canadian Armed Forces will prepare you for a career with the OPP. No doubt. When I got hired, I had actually a lot of members from the Canadian Armed Forces, from the military police that were part of my cohort. They had a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience. They were actually some of the deployed members that went to different places across the world. So all that make them more suited and competitive. But certainly, you would still have to go through the same hiring process as any recruit to get hired. But certainly, I would say you have that experience that you can lean on. Question about fitness. I'm concerned with my endurance and stamina in regards to running. What are you doing to keep fit? So, again, if you're struggling with the shuttle run, or if you feel like maybe you won't pass the obstacle course, which is the prep test, one thing I would do or encourage you to do is please come out to our sessions, come out to our fitness sessions, come out to our shuttle run sessions, and also all the municipal services across the GTA. They also offer prep testing for free. So all these sessions are free, at least for you to come out, kind of test yourself to see where you stand from a physical perspective would give you a really good grasp of where you need to focus on and what you need to improve on. And as a recruiter, when I see you or when we see what you're doing, we'll be able to kind of tackle it a bit further and kind of encourage you or give you the right type of tips if we need to get you on the right path. So certainly, please look at our session. And I mentioned that just earlier today. We do have our next fitness session, the shuttle run session, coming up on March 19th, which will be hosted in Aurelia, Ontario, at Cottage K. You're able to sign up for it later this afternoon. So just go back to our events page, look for it, and you can sign up online. Okay. For out of province applicants, do we need to travel to Ontario for interviews? No. So that's another great question. Our interviews are held virtually. The reason being, this limits or takes down any potential barrier for our potential applicants that live in other province of this country or in other areas of our province. So our application process is online. You can go online at opp.ca/careers, submit your application online. Our interviews are done virtually, and even our other processes, when it goes to background and psych, we're capable of doing some of these processes virtually. So again, it really gives many of our applicants flexibility, and it doesn't cost them anything. We don't unnecessarily burden them financially to make them travel to either any of our detachments or locations to conduct some of these testing. So certainly, I think we've come a long way in that scenario to be very inclusive and open to many of our applicants that can go through the process. All right. Question here about most memorable so far since I've been hired. Most memorable. There's so many. There's so many memories, but I think the first one that I would kind of stands out to me, and maybe it certainly relates to what we're talking about, is getting that phone call. I still remember getting my phone call. I was in the process for quite a long time to get hired at OPP. Was the only police service I applied to based on my research, and I encourage you to do your own research on which police service that you want to apply to. But certainly OPP, after doing research on multiple services, I always found myself coming back to the OPP as a service that kind of felt I had a connection with. So I only applied to the OPP. I was in the hiring process for some time, and when you get to the end of the stage, you know when you're there, Now you're just patiently waiting to see if it's a yes or no. Yes, they're going to call you and give you a job offer, or that dreaded letter that you get in the mail or the email. I'm dating myself by saying mail. But when I got that call, I remember I was home, I was off. I was my day off from my regular work, and I got that call from the employment coordinator, and it's a call I never forget. It was a very emotional moment for me, because I worked really really hard to get hired. I put my all into it, and to see the culmination of all my hard work, in that moment when I got that call. And I still remember Lisa, asking, if I'm sitting down. um, and yeah, I not even realizing I had like a tear flow down my cheek. It was quite emotional for me, and it was such a proud moment for me, getting on with OPP and going through the training and then reporting to the detachment. Meeting my coach officer, and then here we are. Fast forward 12 years later. On the flip side, I'm the recruitment officer now, hiring other potential applicants to welcome them into the OPP. So it's an amazing ride so far for me. I still have a lot to go, and every day I sometimes have to pinch myself. After you get ready, put your uniform on, and you're in front of the mirror, you look at yourself, and you're like, man, yeah, I still can't believe it. So I would say that's one of the biggest moments that kind of still reflects within me when I kind of think about it. So that's how I would share. And each of you probably will have that type of a memory of your own in various manners, but I think it certainly does stick with you. Moving on. Thank you for the questions. Appreciate it. How early in your career can overtime be picked up? I see this is someone that wants to make some money, and there's nothing wrong with that. Certainly, there is money to be made. When you start off as a recruit, you will start off as a fourth class constable, and then every single year you go up to third class, second class, first class. You will move up on the pay scale till you get to first class, which takes about 3.5 years. Right now, our first class constable rate is just over $120,000. And certainly, benefits and pension and all these things are available to you. I'm not going to go too much into it, but yeah, focusing on the question of overtime. Usually, you're able to pick up overtime even within your first year as a probationary constable. And the reason being is sometimes you're involved in investigations that take up more time than your allotted scheduled shift. So when you go beyond your scheduled shift, that's overtime. Sometimes there's extra duties that have to be done, or escorts, or anything like that. Certainly, if you're available and you're approved by your supervisor, you're eligible to work all that. To say yes, if you are interested in making extra money, it's available in the form of overtime and paid duties and things of that nature as you go through your career. A question about, I'm interested in a career with the OPP, but fairly young. What could I do to prepare for the application? Again, this is something, I know someone else said, they're maybe they feel like they're older and maybe they're not eligible. I would provide the same answer. I don't think just because you're young that you're not ready. Again, the minimum age is 18. You have to be 18 and over. But anything beyond that, I say you're eligible. That's why we have set the age at 18. In our last class, I think we had recruits that were in their early 20s, so 21, 22. So it does happen. It doesn't mean you're not ready. Again, we will be training you on everything that has to do with law enforcement and policing. We will train you and coach you and mentor you in all those aspects. But if you feel like you have the motivation, you have the fitness, and you have the drive to pursue this career and succeed in it, that is something you have to have within yourself. And if you feel like you have that within yourself, don't let you feeling like you're young stop you. Apply. I would really encourage you to apply. And if you have some questions about the process or something that you feel might be a hindrance for you to apply, reach out to us. Reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have that you feel like is a barrier for you, because it probably isn't. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just something that you think it is, but it probably isn't. Would you recommend applying to auxiliary to get experience before applying to the constable? Depends. Auxiliary program is an amazing program. It kind of gives you the experience about what you get to do as a frontline officer. You can go on ride-alongs. You will be able to see all the paperwork side. You will see what happens at detachment, what officers do day in and day out. If you are on the on the fence about whether you want to pursue this career or not, and you feel like you need a little bit more info or information, apply to the auxiliary program. It's a volunteer program. You don't get paid for that. It's a volunteer program, but it really does expose you to what frontline policing is all about, and it'll kind of give you the insight that you're looking for in terms of whether this career is for you or not. So absolutely, I would say consider it. But if not, consider applying to the constable position, because if you're unsuccessful at the constable position, you can always apply to the auxiliary position after that. Okay. Can I submit the shuttle run in person, or does it have to be online? You can actually do both. So if you come to one of our in-person shuttle run sessions, and if you do the shuttle run and you pass, we will actually give you a certificate that gives you 30 days to use. So when you apply and you submit your application, you can actually bypass the fitness stage by submitting your your certificate that we've given you on the in-person testing. But again, if you're not able to attend our in-person session, when you go through the process and you submit your application, we will ask you to submit an online video. An online video is where you self-record yourself running the shuttle run, and then based on the parameters that we set that we want you to show us on the video. And after you do that, you can submit that as your evidence of showing us that you're capable of reaching level 7 on the shuttle run. So you can do it both ways, just whatever your preference is. Okay. Who can we reach out to if we have questions throughout the process? You can reach out to a local recruiter that's out of your region. Certainly, you can email OPP Hire, and that way we can answer all your questions or your uniform recruitment. And again, we will be able to address any questions that you have. I work out of the Toronto detachment. Certainly, you can call the Toronto detachment and ask to speak to a recruiter, and certainly I'll be able to answer some of the questions for you, especially if it's a question that maybe it's not it's private and you want some specific answers about your pertinent situation. Then I would encourage you to reach out to a recruiter, and certainly we can have a chat about it. Okay. Um, what are the shifts like? And I think I answered this earlier. Usually our officers work a 12-hour shift. Usually it's a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. night shift and 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Day shift. And you would work a variety of shifts depending on where you go in the province, which region or detachment you work. But I find the common ones that you'll work is a 4 on 4 off, which means you work 4 days, 2 days, 2 nights, and you're off for 4 days, and you just flip back and forth, or you would work a 5 on 4 off, which switches back and forth. So again, depending on where you're going, this is the most common schedule. There might be some others that people work across the province, but I find usually most of the schedules that we work have a good work-life balance. So that way you feel like you're not always at work, but at the same time you feel like you have time with the family and you have ample time off to kind of get away from work, unplug, so that way you're ready and focused when you do come back to work. Okay, so that's one thing I would say. Um, are there any alternatives to the shuttle run part? Fitpin offers rowing instead of shuttle. So at this point in our hiring process, the only thing that we test you on is the shuttle, and it's a requirement. So you have to have the shuttle. You have to get level 7 on the shuttle. And then certainly you have to pass the prep test, which is something that you will do, the prep test and the shuttle when you go to the Interior Police College, and you have to pass both portions as part of your BCT, the Basic Constable Training Program. The PIN test is something that we do as part of your training when you show up to the academy, but certainly it's not something that we test you on when you go through the hiring process. Okay, so that's something that um, you can think of. Moving right along here, I'm sure some of the other questions are coming in. I'm going to try to address the others. Please do have them available if you have any questions. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is application. So when you go onto our website at opp.ca /careers, you'll find that we have an online portal. The online portal is a lot more faster, and it's also basically like a check-in system for you. So when you upload all the required information online, you'll see there's a percentage chart that shows how much of your application is complete. What we're looking for is an 100% complete, and the program will tell you if any or part of your application is missing. If it's missing, it will actually highlight it and it'll tell you this part's missing and you can't leave it so. So make sure that you take your time to do the application. There is no rush. Like I said, we're accepting applications 365 days a year, and we're hiring for 4 classes. So every 3 months, we're hiring for a class. So there, you shouldn't have to rush your application and maybe not put forth the right work to showcase yourself. Take your time to showcase yourself, do the application properly for you to have a strong application instead of just rushing it and submitting something that is not 100% accurate or it doesn't reflect well on you. So that's the advice that I would give. All right. So take your time, put all the information that you're looking for, your education credentials, any certificates, any reference letters. Certainly, all those things help you in your overall application, and it shows us when we review. So when I review the applications coming in, we're reading everything. We're reading what you put in there, your spelling, grammar, punctuation, how you've articulated yourselves in the areas of assessments. The paragraphs that you write about what you feel captures you in each of those areas. I read it. I actually take the time to read it. I actually take the time to read your reference letters that other people have submitted on your behalf or what they've said about you, because it kind of gives us a glance of who you are at first look without even ever having met you. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Okay. Question here about applying from a different province. I'm applying from a different province. Do I need to get a driver's abstract? Yes, you do. So if you are applying from a different province, you would have to submit a driver's abstract as part of your application, and you can obtain it from the province that you're applying from, just like the MTO office or the MTO kiosk or Service Ontario. You can certainly do that from the province you apply from. Do the application for auxiliary require PIN test or shelter? No, they don't. For the auxiliary application, you would go on opp.ca/careers. You can submit your online application, and there is no fitness testing that is done for the auxiliary application. Okay. Would taking various courses online apply to education? Absolutely. That would actually speak to continuing education. Again, you would have your education credentials already listed under the education portfolio. But if you're currently working on courses, or if you're taking courses that are, maybe a year out from now, or you're going to be completing 2 years from now, certainly list it, because that speaks to your commitment to continuing education, which is something we certainly want to see. Okay. Um, what if someone doesn't have a certificate for community service? Okay, so community service, this is one thing we also get asked all the time. What if I don't have volunteering? What if my volunteering is limited? Um, you know, we understand that many people have busy lives, other commitments, families, and jobs, and things that you need to make time for. We are totally aware of it. Um, but we also want to make sure that you're aware that when you are applying for a police officer position, when you're getting into a law enforcement role, essentially it's a role in relation to community involvement. You will have that part. That's a huge part in terms of what we do, and we want to make sure that maybe you have experience in it, from your past, or you're currently involved in it now. And also, when you think about volunteering, it's not about volunteering at an organization. Some people do that. Some people are able to volunteer at an organization, maybe get a reference letter from the organization, or showcase how many hours they've done that. That's great. If you are able to do that, that's great. But if you're not able to do that, what I want you to kind of think about is, when has there been a time where you've given up your personal time to help others or help other people's needs? So if you can approach it from that perspective, I'm sure many of us have given up our time to help others or help other organizations or needs of others. If you're able to articulate from that perspective, I think you'll be covering off volunteering. We're not asking you to have 100 hours or 200 hours. No, we're just asking to see what have you done consistently to help others by giving up your own time. That's what we want to see. Okay. Do CPK and certificates go in the education section? Yes, You can add the CPKN, so Canadian Police Knowledge Network. That's what CPKN stands for. If you have, or for those of you that don't know, please go on to CPKN. It's a site that you're able to utilize by doing free law enforcement courses and seminars and many certificates you can obtain from there. It's a great knowledge platform. There are courses in there that you have to pay for, but there are many courses in there that you do not have to pay for. So you can sign up for free, get the certification done. You can do your courses there online for free too. All right. So look into that if you're interested. CPKN.ca or .com. Sorry. Can you please throw some light on what kind of investigation is done on the employment records? Yes. So as you know, employment is an area of assessment. We will be looking when you go through the process, and you have to obviously disclose this to us as you go through the process, every single job that you ever held. So maybe if you started doing paper route when you were 12 or 13 or 14, yes, you will have to list that. Any part-time jobs, full-time jobs, cash jobs. We will ask you to list all that information. We will ask for you to list your past supervisors details, where you were employed, how long you were employed, whether you were fired or whether you were dismissed, or whether you resigned, right? All these things we will ask you to disclose. And for those of you that have had many jobs throughout your career, maybe you might not be able to remember specific dates and times when you were worked at a specific location, or who the people were that you reported to or worked with. And that's normal. That happens all the time. One of the places that you can actually get good information as a starting point is if you log on to your CRA website, the Canada Revenue Agency website. If you go into your personal profile, you will be able to access your past tax returns. And under your tax returns, you'll be able to find different places of employment that you worked in as a point of reference, where maybe that might rejig your memory to give you a starting point of different things or different places that you worked at. Again, it's up to you to list all that information, and say if you're not able to get everything that we're looking for, do the best you can. Do the best you can to list as much information as possible, and then certainly we will be able to do the rest on our end when you go through the background investigation stage to kind of top up whatever we need. Okay, and it's important, and when you go through the background investigation stage, we do speak to your past employers, we speak to your past supervisors, we speak to your past co-workers. You'd be surprised the amount of people we speak to about your past employment record and the history. Why do we do that? Because I think it's important. It's important for us as an organization to understand what sort of person we're hiring. Past behaviors is a good indicator of future results, and that kind of shows us, you know what I mean, in terms of what caliber of a person that we're getting. And I'm not saying we're looking for a perfect person. We all make mistakes. We all have things that we have lapses on, but certainly, we're looking for people that learn from those mistakes and grow, and how they've improved. And by speaking to employers that you've had over the years, we're able to gather that information about you. Okay. Thanks for the question, everybody. Really in-depth questions. What advice would you give to a student in high school who is interested in a career with the OPP? Certainly go on our website. Go on our website, read about the cadet program and the auxiliary program. And the reason that I say that is, if you're just a high school, if you're in high school right now and you plan to, attend post-secondary studies, I think one of the biggest benefits to you is if you're able to get into the auxiliary program or the cadet program. And the reason that I say that is, if you're planning to go to a 2-year post-secondary program or a 4-year post-secondary program, during that time that you're in school full time, you can work as a cadet part-time, or you can volunteer as an auxiliary part-time. The frontline experience that you will get by doing that will certainly prepare you once you graduate to apply to a police service that you want. And it kind of makes you understand the day in and day out of what policing is all about from a frontline perspective, because you'll be able to work with officers, go on ride-alongs with officers. You'll be able to do paperwork of what policing is all about, and this will get you certainly ready when you're ready to apply. So those are the two streams that I would really, really encourage you to look into if you're certainly going to be graduating high school soon. Okay. Um, if I studied a bachelor's degree abroad, um, in having the World Education Service certification enough for the education section? Yes, WES. That's exactly what it is. They will be able to assess your bachelor's degree from another country for Ontario standards. So you're able to do that. You're able to get that information for Ontario standards, and then you can submit that as part of your application. So you get credit for our education requirement. Okay. I've been in Canada. I've only been in Canada for about a couple of years, but I worked for the past 15 years. How does the employment background investigation work in that scenario? Yeah, good question. You are still required to list all that information. So even if you worked in another country, province, or state, you will do just as everyone else by listing all the information that we're looking for. The name of the organization, people that you worked with, people that you reported up to, the time frame that you worked in, any sort of issues that you had, if you were dismissed or fired or resigned, all that information we expect you to list. And then when you're going through the background investigation stage, we will be able to dive into all that. And if need be, we will be able to contact all the employers that you have listed and get more information if it's required. So you do the best you can to give all the information, and then we will do what we need to on our part from a background investigation perspective to top up your file. Okay, so that's how we would do that. Question: is there anything specific that I need to study for the OP from the OPP website in relation to the ECI and the LFI? So the ECI is the Essential Competency Interview, and the LFI is the Local Focus Interview. And for the OPP, both of these interviews are combined, and they are done at the interview stage. So initially, when you break down the process, you have the application stage. You would submit the application online, and the stage after that would be the fitness stage. We would request that you send and submit a video showing us that you're capable of reaching level 7. If you're successful in doing so, then your file is assessed. And if you're suitable and competitive, we will then request that you come in for an interview. It's a virtual interview. And usually it's a one-on-one interview. We do a one-on-one interview with a recruiter such as myself, and we would have a chat, just like how I'm having a chat with you right now. We would have a chat, and this is where we dive into anything and everything about you as an applicant, your experiences, your motivation, everything that we're looking for to find out about you. On whether you will be a good candidate for us, whether you will be a good police officer for the OPP. And if you're successful there, certainly you move on to the psychological testing and background investigation, and then to a final job offer. But during the one interview that you have with us, that will cover the LFI and ECI portions of it. Again, we talk about competencies. We talk about different competencies, different examples that we would ask you to share during the interview, just to see, from a maturity perspective, a growth perspective, life experience perspective, right? Different things that we're assessing you during the interview. And certainly, I think many people find the interview stage as a bit of a nerve-wracking experience, but I also find that many people walk away when the interview is done with a very positive outlook, an enriching experience. I think that's what many people would probably describe it as, because of just what we dive into and what we talk about to really get down to the nitty-gritty of what it is that is motivating you to pursue this career, right? How many interviews are there throughout the process? Usually, there's only one interview at the interview stage for the local focus and the essential competency interview. But certainly, you will have an interview with the psychologist as part of the psych testing process. But that's it. There isn't another interview that you would have um, in the hiring process from application to job offer. Okay, so that one interview that you have with the recruiter, that is where you really need to hit it out of the park. That is where you really need to articulate and showcase, why is it that we should hire you to the next class that we're going for, right? And I think many people do that in that interview by showcasing all their positives and challenges that they face in life and what brings them to this point of sitting in front of a recruiter. Um, one of the things I know I talked about at the start is the fitness session that we're hosting on March 19th. So I just want to reiterate that because you will be, I think, after our session today. Oh, we're almost at 3, just like that. Time flies. So after our session today, you should be able to hop on our website, opp.ca/careers, and when you go onto the events page there, you should be able to see our sign up list for our next fitness session, which is being held in Aurelia, Ontario. So hopefully we'll see many of you there. But certainly, if you're not able to make it to that session, rest assured we will have other fitness sessions throughout the province. We are working on a few in the GTA that we're going to be holding because we've been getting a lot of requests for that. As you know, we would love to host a session every single day or even once a week. But again, securing locations in the facilities is quite challenging, especially if we want to move around to different parts of the GTA and even beyond that. So again, rest assured, we will certainly try to do that and keep checking the website or our social media feeds because we usually will promote it and have all that there. So in wrapping up, again, I want to thank each and every one of you for hopping on our AMA sessions. We usually try to keep doing it consistently every other Wednesday, if we can. But certainly, if you have any specific questions about the recruitment process or the hiring process, I would encourage you to email us or certainly call one of our recruiters. I'm out of the Toronto detachment, so certainly please feel free to call me if you have any specific questions or you want to talk to me about a specific topic that you feel that impact you. We're currently in the process of hiring for our next class, which is at the end of May and June, and the one after that would be in September, and the one after that would be in December. So we're certainly hiring. We're certainly taking applications throughout the coming days, and through it will be for the rest of the year and beyond. But like I said, only apply when you're at your competitive best. If you feel like you're ready to meet the fitness obligations and you're able to meet all the other areas of assessment, especially the two that we focused on today, which is education and driving. You need your G license with no more than 6 demerit points to apply, and you also need your high school as a minimum. And certainly, if you have education from outside this country, certainly you can go to WES to get your credentials assessed for Ontario standards, and that way you're able to submit it as part of the application. Okay. So again, thank you everyone. Wish you all the very best for the rest of the day on this beautiful March 12th, and look forward to seeing you, whether it's in person, whether it's at our fitness sessions, or certainly, who knows, maybe I might be doing your interview the next time you get selected for one. So certainly look forward to seeing many of you throughout our processes.